Hi everybody, Boris, Forex. Welcome to the COM dollar section for April 16th to April 20th, 2008 for Aussie dollar, dollar CAD, and Kiwi dollar. And the story in the COM dollar land is pretty much the same. Aussie, Kiwi, relatively stationary, although there's some really interesting intra-commodity movement there between the two of those. And dollar CAD really catching a bid this week for a whole bunch of reasons. Let's take a look at the levels first before we talk about the movements and the possibility of further movement here. Aussie dollar still remains 78.76. As a matter of fact, the resistance level from last week hit it to the T and then bounced off of it today. Dollar CAD, definitely the strongest of all the pairs, moving down now and has 125 very much in view, especially if we get any kind of a strong commentary from the Bank of Canada this week. And Kiwi dollar, relative strength trade, although today for the first day out of 4 we've had a sell-off. The 74 remains very, very solid resistance and stays that way for the time being. So looking at the calendar here, the COM dollar land actually has a lot of interesting data set this week, in some ways even more so than the majors. We have the RBA meeting minutes, which will be non-event as usual because the RBA is going to essentially remain stationary. And then on Wednesday, it's a very, very full day because we have the Australian employment Wednesday night, and then Wednesday day we have the Bank of Canada rate decision. Now nobody's expecting a change in Bank of Canada rate decision, but what will be interesting is whether the Bank of Canada re-signals that it's willing to begin tightening soon. That could easily take dollar Canada to 125 in a heartbeat because at this point, the Canadian data is certainly proving to be very resilient, quite positive. Oil prices are now closing in on 70. All of that provides a tremendous amount of tailwind for the economy. And rates are still way too low given the housing situation in Canada. So I think the Bank of Canada could be ready to begin tightening rates, assuming, and this is a big assumption, of course, but one that I think seems to be much more of a reasonable one as we go further, that they can work out a NAFTA deal. Because NAFTA has been sort of the black cloud that overhangs all of the policy decisions. But if they can resolve that, that provides a massive, massive sense of relief for dollar Canada, pushes us straight down to the 125 level. And then we finish up the week with more Canadian stuff with retail sales and the CPI data. We don't have any view on this for the time being. But generally, if that proves to be strong as well, they'll just simply add to the strength of the trade. Now, when you're looking at the charts, and let's start with Aussie dollar, you can see how this 78, which we talked about as a resist level, just boom, hit it and came right off of it. Today, still remains to be a very, very key resist level here. The key question is there any sense that the RBA is going to even hint of a possible move towards more hawkish stance? I doubt it. And if they don't, if they essentially maintain their dovish posture, saying that they expect the rates to remain neutral for quite a long time, this is, I think, 18 straight months that they've gone neutral. It's quite possible they can go 2 years keeping the rates stationary. It's likely that we see a resumption of this downward trend towards the 76 level. A lot of it will be contingent on what they say, and also dollar flows as we go into the week. Because if dollar catches a bid, a lot of this stuff will just sort of naturally start to come down. We are remaining very much on a downward path here. We're just sort of at the upper end of the down channel here. A break above 78, however, would change the picture dramatically and would really turn this downward channel into a bottoming out formation. And then you'd have to consider that the flows have changed, and then we'd be looking towards the 79 as a potential move to the upside. So for now, this still remains the operative point against which you trade, with the assumption that the bias is to the downside. Kiwi dollar had a very, very strong run this week. I think 4 straight days of up movement until we hit the 74. And 74 has been just a rock solid resistance level. As a matter of fact, even if you get beyond the 74, the 75 comes in. So this whole area is just massively, massively resistant. Very, very hard to imagine that there would be so much power in the Kiwi that it would bust out through all of these levels and create a fresh buying opportunity. It still looks to me more distributive, and the probability is it's probably going to melt away towards the 73s as we go forward. But watch these levels. I mean, I think if we end up 74.50, the structure of the whole trade is going to change materially, and then you have to really pay attention that maybe we have a nascent longer-term breakout in Kiwi dollar here to the upside. We'll have to see, because again, the only way I could see that type of a construct is if the market begins to believe that monetary policy shifts more towards a more hawkish stance. Now, there is positive Kiwi data, and there's also, I think we have, I don't know if Kathy has it here. I don't think she does, but there is, I know for a fact that we have New Zealand inflation data on the calendar this week. So be watch. Oh no, here it is. I'm sorry. Here's this inflation data, and she's actually bullish this inflation data. So there is potential here for Kiwi to, at very minimum, show relative strength and possibly absolute strength and take us out above this 74 level on strong inflation data, because that would suggest maybe that the RBNZ could go back into a tightening posture as we go forward. So we are at very, very key, interesting levels here in the Kiwi, and definitely this price level worth watching, but really need a breakout above these levels, 74.50, to get confident that we have more to the upside in this particular trade. And of course, dollar CAD, very, very strong move to the downside here. Nice big relief rally, a lot of help from fundamental data as well as oil prices. And ultimately, we've had, well, how many days around? 1, 2, 3, 4 days kind of holding ahead of the 125. This 125 is a very, very important psychological and support level as well. But the Bank of Canada saying, yes, we're thinking of maybe resuming our interest rate hiking posture towards the end of the year, will definitely slice this right back down. And then we can go all the way down to 124 before we see any reasonable support in the pair. So that's how things shape up. It's certainly going to be quite interesting, I think, in calm dollar land this week, especially in the Kiwi and the CAD, and definitely watch for the key levels as potentially more developments go on the trend basis. Wish you guys the best luck, the best trading. Boris Schlossberg, over and out.